The clock on the wall struck 6:17 p.m. when Daniel Carter heard the sound of an engine rolling into the private driveway. He froze halfway through peeling carrots, the cheap kitchen knife slipping slightly in his fingers. His daughter, Lily, sat at the small table behind him, coloring quietly, her feet swinging above the floor. No one was supposed to be due home for hours. Daniel's pulse kicked up. He walked to the window and peeked through the curtain. The sleek black Tesla Model X glided to a stop, and the driver's side door opened. A tall man in a tailored navy suit stepped out, his hair perfectly groomed, as if the world itself would have to reshape if a strand dared fall out of place. Elias Davenport, billionaire, CEO, tech visionary, and Daniel's employer. He was supposed to still be on his flight to Zurich for another 8 hours. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. "Dad," Lily said, sensing his sudden stillness. "What's wrong?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. He watched the billionaire lift his suitcase, walk toward the front steps, and reach for the door. Daniel spun around, crossed the kitchen in 2 long strides, and knelt in front of his daughter. "Lily," he whispered sharply, "go to the laundry room. Close the door. Stay quiet. No talking, no noise, not even a whisper. Do you understand?" Her big brown eyes widened. "But," he placed a finger to her lips. "Shush, not one word. Go now." She nodded and hurried off, clutching her coloring book. The front door opened. Footsteps echoed in the vast foyer. Daniel exhaled once, deeply, and forced his heartbeat to slow. He wiped his hands on his apron and walked out of the kitchen, trying to appear calm. "Daniel," came a familiar voice, smooth, controlled, curious. "Why is the house so quiet?" Daniel stepped into view. "Mr. Davenport, I wasn't expecting you home tonight." Elias set down his suitcase and loosened his tie as though nothing was amiss. The conference was pointless, could have been done over a 10-minute call. He looked toward the living room. "Where's Noah?" Noah, Elias's son, 9 years old, quiet, smart, lonely. "Upstairs," Daniel replied. "He's just finishing his homework." Elias nodded and headed toward the stairs. Daniel followed, feeling pressure build behind his ribs like the house was shrinking around him. Halfway up the stairs, Elias stopped and turned. "Daniel," he said quietly, eyes narrowing just slightly. "Is something wrong?" Daniel swallowed. "Sir," he said softly, "we need to talk. Now." Elias stared at him, expression unreadable. Then he motioned toward his office. They stepped inside, and Elias closed the door behind them. "What is it?" he asked. Daniel's next words came out low. Controlled, but urgent. "Sir, there were people here earlier today." Elias stilled. "Who?" "2 men. I didn't recognize them. They came in a black sedan, no plates. They didn't knock. They tried the lock first." A flicker of something, fear, recognition, or rage, crossed the billionaire's face. It was gone as fast as it came. "And my son?" Elias asked. "He was safe," Daniel said. "I got him to the basement panic room before they reached the door. They left after about 5 minutes. Didn't break the glass, didn't force entry, but they were checking the place. Watching." Elias walked to the window and stared out across his manicured lawn, the city skyline shimmering beyond it. He said nothing for a long moment. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Sir, I think someone is following your family." Elias turned around. His eyes were sharper now. Calculating. "It's not someone," he said quietly. "It's them." Daniel's stomach dropped. The name didn't need saying. He had heard it once before in a whispered conversation he wasn't supposed to. "Over here." A name spoken like a shadow moving through a room. And now the shadow was here. Daniel stepped closer. "Do we need to call the police?" "No." Elias's voice was firm, final. "No police, sir. Police can't help with this." Daniel stared at him. "Then what do you want me to do?" Elias looked at him, and for the first time since Daniel had known him, he didn't look like a billionaire. Or a CEO. Or a man in control of the world around him. He looked like a father. "Protect Noah," Elias said quietly. "No matter what happens next." Daniel nodded once. "I will." Elias moved to step past him, then stopped. "Daniel," he said, voice low. "Where is Lily?" Daniel's breath caught. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He couldn't. A slow, dangerous stillness settled around Elias. "Daniel," he repeated, softer this time. "Where is your daughter?" Daniel forced himself to meet his eyes. "She's here," he said. "In the house." Elias closed his eyes briefly. Not surprised. More pained. "You should have taken her away." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I tried." But the moment I opened the front door earlier, one of the men across the street lifted his phone and took a picture. They saw her. They know her face now. If I tried to leave, he shook his head, they would follow. Elias opened his eyes again. Anger, not at Daniel, but at the situation, flashed there. Then we keep her safe too, he said quietly. Daniel's breath left him in a slow exhale of relief. But the danger remained thick in the air. Just then, footsteps sounded in the hallway. Both men turned sharply. Noah stood in the doorway, his backpack hanging off one shoulder. Dad, is everything okay? Elias instantly put on a smile. Fake, but convincing. Yes, everything's fine, son. Come here. Noah walked in, but his eyes flicked between the men's faces. He sensed tension. He always did. Daniel stepped forward. I'll get dinner started, he said, leaving them. But the instant he stepped into the hallway, he stopped. The front door was open. Just an inch. It hadn't been open before. Someone had opened it. Someone was inside. Daniel's pulse thundered. He reached into the hall closet and pulled out the only weapon he knew Elias kept unlocked, a heavy steel flashlight. Footsteps sounded from the living room. Slow, unhurried. Daniel's muscles tensed. Then a voice floated out. Calm, almost amused. You've been doing a very good job protecting the children, Mr. Carter. Daniel's blood froze. The flashlight shook slightly in his hands. The man stepped into view. Black coat, clean haircut, pale eyes that didn't blink enough. He smiled. But the game has changed now. Daniel lowered his voice to a whisper, and every word was laced with warning, command, and fear. Shut up. Don't say a word. Behind him, he felt Elias and Noah freeze. The man smiled wider. Oh, he said softly. I'm not here to talk. He reached inside his coat. Daniel lunged forward. The house erupted.